I broke my body, but they could not break my spirit. They told me I would never walk again, and for a very long time, I believed them. I lay in that hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking, how will I ever be anything again? And then I had my revelation. You don't need functioning legs to be the best. You need a functioning mind and a beating heart full of resolve. If I can be the best version of myself from a wheelchair, you can be the best at anything you choose. We are all here tonight because we share a hunger. A hunger not just for success, but for excellence. To be the best. But let me tell you something. Being the best is not about being better than the person next to you. It's about being relentlessly, unapologetically, and spectacularly you. The world will try to give you a formula. Go to this school, get that job, marry this person, buy that car. That is not the formula for being the best. That is the formula for being ordinary. I have lived through the worst thing you can imagine, and I have found 5 simple, unbreakable rules, my own 5 pillars that transform ordinary effort into extraordinary impact. You don't need a golden ticket. You need these 5 rules stamped on your soul. Listen closely. 1. Master the art of wastage. We are told from childhood that mistakes are to be avoided, that failure is the opposite of success, and that the path to greatness is a clean, straight line that has no room for detours or dead ends. This is a profound lie that keeps beautiful, talented souls stuck in paralysis, perpetually waiting for the perfect moment to execute a perfect plan that will never materialize. They fear the time, energy, or resources that might be wasted on an effort that yields no immediate, visible return. And so they spend their entire lives wasting the one resource that truly matters, their potential. I stand before you, a testament to the belief that the debris of a broken life holds the richest lessons, that the waste is where the gold is buried. Every project that imploded, every canvas I discarded, every conversation that led nowhere was not an error in my ledger, but a tuition payment for a masterclass in life that no university could ever offer. You must develop an almost reckless bravery to invest in something you are passionate about, even if it carries a 99% chance of collapse, because the 1% chance is your reward, and the 99% is your irreplaceable education. Think of the scientist in the laboratory, pouring chemicals into vials only to watch them fizzle and turn to ash, day after day, week after week. Does he call that a waste of time and energy, or does he call it data that brings him one step closer to the breakthrough that will change the world? The difference between a master and a novice is simply the number of experiments the master was willing to conduct and the amount of beautiful, necessary wastage he was willing to accept as part of the price of admission to true knowledge. You cannot afford to live a safe life, a life where every step is guaranteed to lead to profit, because a life without risk is a life without growth. And a life without growth is simply stagnation wearing the disguise of stability. The only thing you truly waste is the time you spend judging your past efforts instead of learning from their inevitable collapse. Because every false step illuminates the correct direction with a clarity a map can never provide. So I urge you to look back at your biggest failures, not with regret, but with a strange, fierce gratitude. Because those moments of spectacular implosion were the universe's way of refining you, teaching you speed, resilience, and the invaluable knowledge of what your soul will no longer tolerate. They stripped away the vanity projects and the weak ideas, leaving you lean, focused, and ready to attack the next challenge with the wisdom you could only have earned through loss. Stop fearing the label of waster and start embracing the title of experimenter, understanding that the volume of your attempts is the only true predictor of your ultimate excellence. The world needs your mistakes. It needs the dust and the chaos of your learning process, because that is the honest, raw material from which all true, lasting mastery is eventually carved out, slowly and painfully, but undeniably. Go out and make your magnificent mess. Try 5 things that fail for every one that succeeds. And know in your heart that every ounce of effort that seemed to vanish was actually being transformed into the steel that will underpin your greatest, most undeniable future triumph too. Your why must be greater than your how. We often get trapped in the minutiae of the how, the complex logistics, the resource allocation, the perfect plan that must be drawn up before the first step can ever be taken, and this is where potential goes to die. The how is the voice of doubt, the voice of the critic, the small, frightened self that demands a guaranteed step-by-step instruction manual for a journey that has never been taken before by a soul quite like yours. But the universe does not reward perfect planning. It rewards unwavering resolve. And unwavering resolve is born entirely from the profound blazing clarity of your why. Why must you be the best? Why must you create this art? Why must you lead this movement? Why must you overcome this impossible barrier that stands before you today? When your why is merely comfortable, merely about personal gain or social approval, it is weak. And the first true obstacle will crumble your how into dust, forcing your retreat back into the safety of the ordinary. However, when your why is spiritual, when it is tied to something larger than yourself, to a community, to a principle, to the promise of a better world, then it takes on an almost mythic power that makes every how irrelevant. A person who knows their why can look at an impossible mountain and not see the sheer rock face or the dangerous weather. They only see the view from the summit and the reason they must reach it. And the how then becomes a series of simple actions performed by an unshakable will. The method of climbing becomes less important than the simple, primal refusal to turn back, transforming an impossible task into merely a relentless sequence of one step after another. This profound central purpose is the anchor that holds your vessel steady when the storms of life tear your sails and break your rudder. When all your meticulous plans are swallowed by the waves and there is nothing left but you and the vast, dark ocean. If you can still whisper your why into the wind in that moment, then you are not lost. You are simply enduring, knowing that the necessity of your mission will eventually guide you ashore. Stop wasting your precious time trying to map out a perfect route through a wilderness you have never explored, because the map you seek does not exist yet. It is drawn by your own relentless footsteps, backward and forward, up and down, as you refuse to abandon the profound spiritual obligation of your ultimate mission. Clarify the core reason that forces you out of bed every single morning, the single burning truth that makes your existence non-negotiable, and let that fiery conviction burn away the fear and the petty doubts that try to ensnare you in the webs of how and what if, freeing you to act with a power that transcends mere logic. 3. Trade perfection for presence. The illusion of perfection is the most cunning trap laid for the aspiring soul, the voice that whispers, "Not yet, not ready, wait until you are fully prepared, wait until it is absolutely flawless before you reveal your vulnerable, imperfect self to a world that desperately needs your current truth." This pursuit is not a commitment to quality. It is merely fear wearing a cloak of high standards, an excuse to delay the terrifying, necessary moment of exposure. The masters of every craft are not perfect. They are merely the ones who showed up the most often, the ones who chose to be present in the moment of creation, in the moment of performance, in the moment of leadership, regardless of the trembling in their voice or the uncertainty in their hands. They started before they were ready. They released their work before it was complete, and they spoke their truth while it was still messy and raw. Perfection demands stasis. It demands the freezing of the moment so that you can endlessly polish and refine. But life is fluid, demanding movement, requiring you to act with the resources and the certainty you possess right now, not what you hope to possess tomorrow. The decision to act, to step onto the stage with your 80% finished masterpiece, is always superior to the decision to wait for the perfect 100% that remains hidden in the shadow of your procrastination. When you choose presence, You choose action over anxiety. You choose impact over idealism. And you choose the terrifying vulnerability of being seen for who you truly are at this stage of your journey, which is the only way for the world to connect with your authentic humanity. That initial, imperfect connection is the seed from which all powerful movements, all great art, and all genuine leadership must inevitably grow. We must cultivate an aggressive dedication to simply being there, to being available to the universe, to showing up for the meeting, the opportunity, the conversation, the blank page, with a heart open to both success and critique, knowing that the act of engagement is the only true measure of your worth. It is in the arena, not in the planning room, that the character of a champion is forged. Regardless of whether they win the particular match or not, the enemy of your future greatness is not your lack of talent, it is your refusal to start, your willingness to let your fear of a flawed performance keep you from playing the game altogether. And that silence is the only unforgivable mistake. You are robbing the world of the light you have right now while you wait for a perfect moment of illumination that may never arrive. Take a deep breath, accept the trembling, and act right now with the beautiful, flawed humanity that you possess. Because your true power lies not in being faultless, but in your relentless commitment to show up and be seen, and that presence is the highest form of perfection. 4. Choose your scar story. Every single person in this room, every single human being on this earth has a past wound, a moment of profound breakage, a painful narrative that has the power to either imprison them in a story of endless victimhood or liberate them into a story of absolute power. That broken place is not a mistake that happened to you. It is a profound gift that has been delivered, sometimes brutally, to your soul. The choice is always yours. Will you allow this scar, this moment of deep pain, to be the source of your profound, self-pitying excuse? Or will you consciously select it as the source of your undeniable, compassionate power that fuels every single step forward? The best people in the world are those who have not hidden their wounds, but have, in fact, turned them outward, allowing their cracks to become the vessels through which their truest light can finally pour out. Your scar is the only piece of your history that is truly unique, the only thing that nobody else can claim or replicate. And if you can tell its story with courage, you grant others the permission to transform their own secret grief. And that silence is the only unforgivable mistake. You are robbing the world of the light you have right now while you wait for a perfect moment of illumination that may never arrive. Take a deep breath, accept the trembling, and act right now with the beautiful, flawed humanity that you possess. Because your true power lies not in being faultless, but in your relentless commitment to show up and be seen, and that presence is the highest form of perfection. 4. Choose your scar story. Every single person in this room, every single human being on this earth has a past wound, a moment of profound breakage, a painful narrative that has the power to either imprison them in a story of endless victimhood or liberate them into a story of absolute power. That broken place is not a mistake that happened to you. It is a profound gift that has been delivered, sometimes brutally, to your soul. The choice is always yours. Will you allow this scar, this moment of deep pain, to be the source of your profound, self-pitying excuse? Or will you consciously select it as the source of your undeniable, compassionate power that fuels every single step forward? The best people in the world are those who have not hidden their wounds, but have in fact turned them outward, allowing their cracks to become the vessels through which their truest light can finally pour out. Your scar is the only piece of your history that is truly unique, the only thing that nobody else can claim or replicate. And if you can tell its story with courage, you grant others the permission to transform their own secret grief into an open source of strength. This vulnerability is not a weakness. It is the ultimate act of leadership, the single greatest connector of the human experience. To own your scar story means to stop seeing yourself as a patient waiting to be healed by the world, and to start seeing yourself as a guide who has already survived the deepest part of the forest and now possesses the map for others. You become a living example that the human spirit is not just capable of enduring unspeakable damage, but is also capable of being transformed and made more beautiful by it. Stop wasting your energy, hiding the evidence of your battles, stitching yourself up and pretending that everything is fine, because the world is tired of polished performances and perfect facades that make us all feel inadequate. The world is hungry for the raw, honest, and terrifying truth of a soul that has been shattered and has managed, piece by painful piece, to rebuild itself stronger and far more meaningful. Embrace the narrative that was forced upon you, reclaim its meaning, and change its ending, writing a final chapter where the very thing that was meant to break you is instead leveraged as the platform from which you speak your loudest, most undeniable truths. You were not given this pain to suffer in silence. You were given this pain to show others how a spirit can not only survive, but also flourish in the aftermath of a devastating storm. Let your old wound be the fire that forges your future, the permanent, beautiful reminder that you are not just a survivor, but a true warrior who took a devastating hit and then stood up, not despite the trauma, but because of the strength it unlocked deep within your bones. 5. Don't just change your clothes. Change your skin. Many people strive to be the best by mimicking the outward trappings of success. They change their clothes. They acquire the right vocabulary. They network with the right people. Essentially, wearing a costume they hope the world will validate as authentic leadership. This is merely an act, a temporary camouflage, a performance of greatness that can be stripped away by the first real moment of crisis, leaving the hollow character exposed. To be the best at anything is to achieve a state of inner congruence, where your outward actions and your private, unobserved character are in absolute, radical harmony, where you have fundamentally changed the skin of the person who wakes up every morning. This is not about surface changes. This is about deep tissue transformation, where your ethics, your integrity, your compassion, and your honesty become the non-negotiable bedrock of your very being. When you change your skin, your pursuit of excellence is no longer about winning an external contest, but about maintaining an internal standard that you will not betray, even when nobody is watching, and even when the easier, less honest path beckons with great promise. Your success then becomes a natural, inevitable consequence of your superior, undeniable character, which is the only form of power that can never be taken away from you. The person who changes their skin is someone who lives a life of profound responsibility, knowing that their best performance must be given not just to the audience or the client, but to their own conscience in the deepest quiet of the night. This kind of excellence radiates an energy of trust and magnetic authenticity that bypasses all the surface noise and speaks directly to the soul of every person you encounter. This transformation requires brutal self-inventory, the willingness to shed the limiting beliefs, the petty resentments, and the fearful, small behaviors that have clung to you for years, peeling away the old self that was comfortable with compromise and making room for a radically honest, fully committed new self. It is a terrifying, spiritual shedding that is absolutely necessary for you to operate at the peak of your true, ethical potential. When you operate from a place of fundamental integrity, you stop seeking validation, because your actions are their own reward and your word is your bond, and that is a silent, immense power that no degree of wealth or fame can ever replicate. People gravitate not just toward your results, but toward the light of the person who achieved them, knowing that your foundation is solid and your purpose is pure. So, I urge you, stop dressing the part of the hero and start becoming the hero in the deepest, most quiet chambers of your heart, letting the strength of your unshakable character be the invisible, undeniable force that effortlessly makes you the best, not just at your craft, but at the ultimate art of being fully, beautifully human. So, my beautiful, striving friends, you have heard the 5 rules. And they are not complicated, but they are absolutely non-negotiable for anyone who truly wishes to be the best. You see me here, confined to this chair, but my life, my spirit, and my mission are a testament to the fact that greatness has nothing to do with physical ability or perfect circumstance. It is an internal choice. It is the fierce commitment to turn your wastage into wisdom, to let your profound why conquer your logistical how, to choose the messy glory of presence over the paralysis of perfection, and to finally claim your scar as the source of your truest power. Do not aspire to merely do the job of the best. Fundamentally become the person of the best, changing your very skin to hold the unbreakable integrity that excellence demands. Now, the planning is over. The time for whispering excuses into the darkness is done. You know the 5 rules that will force your potential into reality? And the only remaining question is what you will do with this knowledge when you walk out of this hall. Go forth and make your magnificent contribution, not by trying to imitate anyone else's success, but by living your own truth, so fiercely that it becomes its own unrivaled category of best. Go and break your personal ceilings. Go and make your necessary, glorious mess. And be relentless in the creation of a life that proves that the only limits that exist are the ones you choose to accept. Thank you.